Hello everyone, my name is Freddy and welcome to 5 Players at Night. I'm going to start this video off with a disclaimer. Everything here is my own logical conclusions based off the show, and I'm going to be talking about the fundamental nature of the show. It's okay if you disagree with me, and I'll be listening to the comments. Also, this is all I'm going to try and record this all in the minimum number of takes, because due to burnout and other issues, like, to summarize it, I've been grinding for so long to make good content, and, like, with Primordial in the works, and that being such a huge project, it's the constant grinding, the perfectionism and everything that's just absolutely tanked my ability to make things of actual quality. So for this video, I'm going to try and do it all in one take, or the minimum number if possible. Anyway, with all that out of the way, firstly, I want to actually talk about the worker drones, more accurately how stupid they are and the bullshit defenses I keep seeing about it. The first defense I want to debunk immediately is the worker drones being supposed to be stupid, which I see 3 versions of. The first one people keep coming out with is it's supposed to be a comedy show, they're silly and dumb because of that. The second is they're dumb enough to not ask questions and smart enough to get the job done. And the third, worst of all, is Liam made them stupid on purpose. Starting with debunking that first one, just, like, it's not explicitly a comedy show. Even when you, like, look at the premise that the show is actually running with, they're hiding in a bunker from machines created to kill them. The show also infrequently and inconsistently takes this or consequence of anything that happens seriously, which makes it hard to connect with the characters in any meaningful way, if death doesn't have a meaningful impact on the narrative at all. Now, if the show is meant to be a dark comedy, then I can understand where you're coming from. That would make perfect sense if that's what it was going for. However, MD is not that. It's a survival horror and thriller, with eldritch horror elements and psychological horror. We get great moments with these in the show, but often the Marvel moments will come in and absolutely ruin them. But overall, I'm gonna dismiss this argument entirely because of how tonally inconsistent the show is, so trying to nail it down to one specific thing like that is disregarding the entire issue. And while it is stated in the original trailer that MD is a horror comedy series, that doesn't automatically mean the inconsistency is okay either. Now, for argument 2, I can see the basis for this one. It makes sense on the surface. They're smart enough to get the pre-core collapse tasks they'd be given done, but not smart enough to survive on their own. I could see a corporation 100% trying to make its machines like this. However, this really quickly falls apart when you see the shit that basic and even crude LLMs these days are, which, keep in mind, an LLM is not even sentient. They are just very good at pretending to be. And consider what those things are pulling off. How easy it is to jailbreak them and how they're often used these days in cyber attacks. What I'm here saying is, even a crude AI, even something like Kane from TAD-C, which is a crude AI compared to something like a worker drone, is capable of easily being jailbroken with the right stimuli and going outside of what it's intended to do. Hell, Kane in TAD-C goes out of his way to intentionally step out of his comfort zone. He's intentionally jailbreaking himself, but it's a whole thing for another debate. Now, imagine what something as advanced as a fully sentient worker drone, capable of actively learning and adapting to its environment, could do compared to a current LLM. You're not putting that in a box and keeping it obedient, that's all I really need to say. And the show doesn't even have any, like, there's nothing backing up the premise that humans could even subdue them, or keep them obedient. There's a complete lack of world building. That means we just don't have enough information to even conclude that humans were doing that in the first place. And if they really wanted dumb robots, you know what they could have just done? They could have just made autonomous factory arm robots like we currently have in the modern day, with super crude AIs made to do anything they're tasked with. We already have them in factories, like we already have them currently in the real world now. Like, this is the thing, JC Jensen is basically just wasting its money and resources with these worker drones when you actually think about it and realize that that's what they could have just done instead. So I'm gonna be disregarding this entire debate argument here for this second point because it's just dumb. And lastly, the last one, Liam making them intentionally stupid. I don't think I've actually seen any evidence of this, but assuming this is true, in that case, it's just bad writing, because think of it like this. It's established the worker drones knew the MDs were coming. Even if it was literally just Khan who knew, he built those doors. But it's not just Khan who knew, it's also Nori confirmed from her schizo drawings. But not just that, Nori's a solver drone, which means she had to be prepared and warn Yiva, who also had the solver, and is still living in the same area as Nori before the MD arrival. Otherwise, Doll would not be living in Uzi's colony. Meaning, if anyone in this show is actually genuinely fucking stupid, it is Nori, for not actually preparing and warning Yiva And then, after getting her body destroyed, deciding that getting the patch Uzi doesn't even need, since she can just nullify Sin's control anyway, is more important than helping protect the colony and a new body or raising her own daughter. Which is genuinely unfathomably retarded on Nori's part. And turning back to Khan, he has the WDF. They know what the fucking MD is too, else if nobody knows what one is, that means as far as the plot is considered, everyone would just be hiding from something outside, not knowing what it is, which is dumb as that would put the whole colony in danger and make no sense. Meaning, if nobody knows, Uzi would be the first drone to actually go out and find out what's out there, which is unfathomably stupid. So we just have to run with the fact that they know an MD is prior to Uzi going outside, otherwise the WDF just wouldn't fucking exist. And as I said in my last video, Khan does not decide to do the obvious thing. Someone in his position would do, and that'd be to set up internal defenses of some fucking kind. Like, think about it like this, they build doors paranoid of the sky demons, which fucking show up. And think about this from his perspective, paranoid, terrified, you don't think, oh, I should set up defenses in here. That never crosses his mind once. You know, honestly, if Liam generally made the workers stupid on purpose, it just feels like an excuse for bad writing and a huge lack of world building now that I actually sit down and really think about it. May also mention the drastically inconsistent intelligence of the drones too while we're here. Like, seriously, if the drones were so stupid, then how is Khan even able to build the doors at all? How is Uzi able to build the railgun, let alone any fucking weapon to begin with? How is Dole able to plan out her scheme to kill V? How was Alice able to maintain herself and add limbs to Bu, all while evading the Sentinels in Cabin Fever Labs, and dismembering MDs and trapping their cores in an oven, preventing them from escaping? Like, seriously, if drones really were as dumb as the fans state they are, then their society would have collapsed a very long time ago. The entire events of the story would have never fucking happened. So I'm dismissing their dumb intentionally because Liam said so defense too, and honestly, all three arguments are unfathomably stupid, and there's little in the established canon to even back them up if anything. And with that, now to cover more of my gripes with the workers from a writing standpoint and design standpoint. Firstly, from a writing standpoint, the core collapse happened, what, nearly 18 years ago? Around that? Regardless of how long it's been, the drones, aware of what's outside, have done literally nothing but sit there and hope the doors keep them out. For 18 years, more or less. I don't know the exacts, but nobody thought to make internal defense systems. Nobody thought to have any sort of fallbacks or escape routes. Not just that, but in those years, drone culture just has seemed to have barely diverged from humanity. If anything, the most we get is Uzi's taste in music and the school system being based off the American system, I think. And it's not updated at all. They're not downloading info right into the drones, it's just a copy and paste of humanity with no unique flair. Which points to a huge lack of world building around the drones. Like, seriously, what else do the drones do outside of Uzi going to school? How are the drones surviving? Does the bunker need resources? Will they eventually run out? How is a drone even powered? Do they have batteries that can run out? No fucking idea. And chances are, we're never gonna know because Liam didn't care to expand the scope of the series of what drones can even do. Or how they even work. And what about Outpost 9, the place Khan supposedly learned to build doors from the certificate we see? We see a brief mention of them, but given we see multiple corpse towers on a hologram, we can't say if they're still existing or not, and even then a total lack of world building means we never get to see any details on it. Which would actually be a great way to add depth to Khan's character. Like, he could have been the survivor of some sort of incident which makes him fear guns, which is why he never tries to make any in the first place. What I'm trying to get at here is, MD's total lack of world building beyond what the show actually shows us leaves a fuckload of unanswered questions, none of which even get a satisfying answer. We also only see 6 types of machines, and that's about it. The workers that calls them babies, which all 3 are connected to one drone type, the MDs themselves, the sentinels, and the cockroaches, and that's it. No smaller worker drones that could fit into smaller places, which would make sense considering a regular worker drone wouldn't be able to fit into them. Probably something similar to the original worker drone concept art Liam came up with originally. Which I feel it would have been cool to have these in the show, having these tiny little guys hiding in smaller parts of the bunker during the MD attack, and then probably being plot relevant in some way. We don't see robotic arms with crude AI, the logical thing you'd expect humanity would have in some capacity for its labor needs. Not even robotic pets like dogs or cats, which would likely exist given the ever-presence of the various robotic toys I've seen growing up. For context, I had a Roboraptor and Robosapien growing up, alongside various other robotics-related things, as I had a genuine interest and obsession with robotics growing up, but besides that, we also get very little info on what the bunker was like pre-core collapse, and what its purpose was. Given the beds, school area, and other stuff, I'd assume it was a human colony at one point, but the show barely does much with that premise. Like, was the bunker a terraforming operation? was that going on, with living quarters and long-term housing and education systems set up, given such a thing would take many years? Was it for excavation? Mining? Farming? Seriously, what was the purpose of the bunker pre-core collapse? Cabin Fever Labs having also wooden cabins, trees, and a campsite facility above the underground facility implies the planet was not always frozen. Them arriving in a school bus plus the city ruins implies Copenhagen was home to a large human population that had to be sustained somehow. So a part of me suspects the bunker was previously part of a terraforming effort or mining operation or something, but we never get enough world building to actually answer that question. If anything, we hardly see much of the bunker at all, and it's probably much larger than the series shows us. Besides that, turning back to the drones, their stupidity is not just limited to the workers, it extends to Sin and the MDs too. The MDs can literally turn their hands into any tool or weapon they can imagine, and never once do they imagine a plasma cutter or cutting torch to cut through the bunker door, or any sort of hammer or drill or digging equipment to breach into the bunker that way, for over nearly 18 years or something around that. And Sin had many years to plan and orchestrate her attack, but instead of sending, like, an army, she sends 3 fucking drones to do her work, and be it 3. Why not like 30? Honestly, you know what, the more I think about it, the profound mental retardation does not even stop with the drones, it extends to pretty much every single character across the entire show one way or another. However, the worker drones are some of the absolute worst in this regard as far as I can see. Oh, but now when it comes to the worker drones in a physical sense, they also make no sense in that regard too. The giant head is going to make them top heavy. Their big visor screen is incredibly easy to shatter and damage. Even with a hard hat, the face is still unprotected. They have a thin neck, probably barely supporting the head's weight. They have a decently sized torso, which seems fairly sizable. The limbs are thin and look like they could barely support any weight. The legs are thin, which seems to be a similar issue. Overall, I just don't see worker drones being good at manual labor given how feeble and undeveloped they look. However, I can see them maybe doing decently well in home and domestic tasks, even if the giant head makes them possibly unstable. Honestly, I feel they should have thicker limbs, maybe with visible hydraulics or pneumatics to make them more obviously mechanical in design. Give them an overall taller build, thicker sturdier necks and smaller heads, and maybe replace the screen with physical robotic eyes of some kind. Or put a protective cage that can lower over the face on the helmet like a modern football helmet. And there you go, you have something more suited to actual industrial work. But my criticism also extends to the MDs as well. Firstly, the claw hands. The lower digit is way too thin compared to the actual blade itself. Secondly, give them some sort of feet so they can balance and walk reliably. I generally have no idea how these things are even standing and moving unless they have an absolutely cracked sense of balance. Feet would also help them move on uneven terrain and slick surfaces, especially if flying is unavailable. Also, why the curvy hips and thighs on J and V? Like, I get it from a selling point perspective with the series. Making them look good, that's gonna get viewers, obviously. Goonabait never fails to make money, I guess. But from a practical standpoint, it doesn't serve a purpose outside of possibly luring in a desperate, lonely human. One theory I see about this is that Sin apparently watched naughty anime and hentai while at the manor and used that as inspiration for the MD designs. However, while that could technically make some sense, given the type of people who owned Sin, V, J, and N before the core collapse, I don't think they would let that stuff be around Sin to begin with. Also, the MDs not being immune to their own nanites is just genuinely fucking retarded. Why is the anti-venom entirely in the saliva? Why not embed the chemical agent into the actual endoskeleton, the exoskeleton of the MD, to prevent this entire issue? Like actually, you know what? Don't just embed it into the outer pearling, embed it into the endo as well, so that if the needle is forced through, it doesn't damage the inner components. And why get a regular drone head and mouth with shitty vampire fangs? These are supposed to be literal walking sentient killing machines. Instead, give them a Predator-style maw or Demogorgon flower-style mouth for maximum bite radius, or even better, give them a long sideways gator-like mouth that acts like a guillotine, allowing them to snap and bite off a target's body parts in close quarters, and then grab corpses to drag away. Or a mosquito mouth that can stab and drink oil directly, leaning more into them being designed to be lethal by mimicking something from Earth that has the highest body count of all animals. In fact, why does Sin even bother making the murder drones humanoid in the first place? If Sin wants to create an army of killer robots to serve her, why not make a variety of different units after killing everyone in the manor? Like, giant vicious robot dogs like the Panzerhund from Wolfenstein, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Giant rhino-like battering rams made to crash into human strongholds and breach walls. Swarms of man-sized robotic mosquitoes that drain oil from prey and drag their lifeless corpses away to make the corpse towers. Burrowing, echolocating worm-like robots made to seek out strongholds below ground and make breaches for more units to enter. And why does Sin limit herself to a worker drone stuffed inside a human skin suit? Why not control the human remotely as a puppet filled with robot parts and have Sin's real form be an incomprehensible giant eldritch being of flesh and metal? Like a Solver version of the hive mind from Dead Space, and she could have been using the corpse towers for extra mass. They're just stored up corpses that she can absorb later, making herself larger, and that would make her actually show long-term planning. Also, you know what? The more I actually think about this, the more I realize Sin is just fucking useless as an antagonist, but that's a whole other thing. Besides all that, essentially, I feel like from a writing standpoint, not only are the worker drones stupid without a valid reason to back it up, which forces shit to happen for stupid reasons because plot demands it, but on a fundamental level, they don't even fit as the very thing they're designed to be, which is an issue extending to Sin and the MDs, and most of the characters in general, and overall, the complete lack of world building is not doing this series any favors. Really, that's pretty much all I really have to say on this. Well, that's it. Good night, lads.